All right, now I'm going to mess with you liberals, and I'm going to mess especially with you people who you're actually of Palestinian descent. And I suggest you just take a moment, because you're going to have to walk through it logically. You just lost, right? Bigly. You lost bigly. So does voting help? Do you foresee somebody who almost everything that they propose is popularly agreed to? So not a large minority. A small majority says these ideas are actually better and that they're going to solve a lot of our various social and economic problems. Now, this is the thing. If there is an improvement in life, years from now, you're going to have to look back on this and go, "That's okay. Well, in a way, voting helped." But if you think of what you think is important, exactly whatever it is that you think is the most important, this isn't a video to own you. Because this happened to the right wing. This is why I'm doing this. The right wing went through this. So when the right wing didn't get what they wanted, there was a very serious question. Is democracy worth shit? Will it save lives? Will people... And then they started going through, like, what was the world like prior to democracy? Do any of you actually know what, like, the Islamic world was like before people proposed the idea of voting? What was the life of a Palestinian like prior to the introduction of a worldview that said everybody should participate? Really, do you know? Do you have photos? Do you have stories? See, it's the right wing that discusses with, like, literally, the libertarians sit there, like, kind of growling a little and like, okay, monarchists, because that's what they're called. They're called monarchists. That they believe in the old systems of monarchy because they're like, voting's not going to get you what you want. You know, and then, so what do people do? They go, oh, well, the nobles and the kings, and they were just authoritarians. This violent authoritarians. And he goes, oh, like this guy? And so then you see, like, these beautiful quotes, you know, from, like, a former Kaiser about how much he enjoys having how much he appreciates the Jewish community of, you know, some city that was under his rule, and praises them. Because it was, you know, modern technology had started, or not modern technology, but it was, you know, you started to get actual power devices and things. Like, okay, to this day, for those of you who are watching this, you do know that you praise Shahs and Turkish caliphs for being kind to the Jews, for their kindnesses that they extended, because that would be civilized. Actually, let's just go this way, because it's nice and sunny. I'm trying to take my back streets way. On the back streets. But, because I've heard this. In fact, so I can make my citation, Imam Imran Hossein is who said this, was one of these many people who bragged about Turkish caliphs and their kindnesses, or sultans of Turkey, their kindnesses toward Jewish people. We got to see all these things about, like, how did various royals view the idea of poverty in their states. They actually didn't like it because they knew poverty only metastasizes and grows into greater levels of poverty and degradation. So they really didn't like it. And they didn't like their land being associated with, like, oh yeah, the people who live there can't eat. That was humiliating. And then it comes down to, you also couldn't have a situation like that because, well, your cousin was going to take all your lands. So your peasants have to be strong enough to repel your cousin. So how's voting doing for you now that you can vote? Just roll it over in your mind. Do you have somebody who says to the people supposedly of Palestine, you know, they're going to run for whatever the office is, and that then there will be education there. They are standing on education for both boys and girls, but separate of one another, while their opponent wants them merged. Are you seeing this fight in Palestine among politicians? No. That's not this very normal argument of that would be everything. Like, this would be an incredibly important argument in an Islamic society that has the vote. But you're not seeing that argument happen. And so, okay, so who are they voting between? Well, there hasn't been. I mean, I was a much younger man when you all actually got even an opportunity to vote on who will lead your people, country, whatever your destiny. How's voting doing for you? And then, did Muhammad believe in the vote? How's it doing for you? Maybe you gotta think way different about how power works. Only a little minority in a slip of time has had voting. And how's it doing for us? I mean, I just want to throw out that question, because I don't think outside of the right wing, monarchists, libertarians, anarchists, anyone asks this question. How's that vote doing for you, buddy? How's that democracy working? Now, for me, I'm on top of the world with niggas with braids and jerry curls running around town looking at all the fly girls. So, I'm fine. to paraphrase Daz Dillinger. I love doing that. Oh, and I wanted to, yes, okay, so are they operational still? Oh, dang. I hope they're still open. I just found out the guy I bought this very jacket from, he died recently. He was an old dude who kept it going, but it was at this place, Eugene Jeans. This place is fantastic, and I really want to encourage, if you're a man who likes, like, if you like old clothes like this, that's the shop. And his wife is still alive. They've been hit really, really hard by the shoplifting. They're like a really good example of why you should kind of hate people who are left of center more. Because for a lot of fellas, that store is one of the first places that you get nice enough clothes that you can get a job in Eugene at a decent price. Because Tim, the old owner, he was just a madman apparently in at St. Vinny's, and him and his wife would dig for all of the goodies, and it's one of the most popular stores for men's clothes in the history of Oregon. This I could absolutely say, because I don't know if they're still up there, but when you used to go into the changing room, there was signed posters all over the walls, everywhere, of all these bands that had gone there and had bought clothes. All these bands who were centered out of LA, but in LA, a Pendleton used is like 5 times more than here. Where here, a Pendleton, most people only know possibly that it's a town in the state. You really are finding somebody who they're a normal, super normal white Oregon guy who would be like, Pendleton, yeah, my dad has this great Pendleton jacket, it's, and it will literally be like a flannel, a true flannel that's lined like this. That's what Pendleton makes. They make it for the cold and the wet and the muck, and they make it so you wear clothes, you wear Pendleton, you feel just ducky, mate. Feel just ducky.
Wait to cross Willamette Street at 13,000.
So at this stage, I want to make sure that this because I kind of broke the act. But really, for a lot of you who are on the left, you don't really get. You always eliminate the vote when you get what you want. In every socialist country, you eliminate the vote down to either one-party rule or entirely. For Palestinians and Islamic countries, there's no such thing as a vote because it doesn't exist in the Quran. So it's not something you've ever been able to really justify. That's why Imam Imran Hussein had said that you can't actually have such a thing as an Islamic republic because it just isn't a real thing, because in their reality is in the Quran for you guys. So now a lot of you have to ask. You had all these reports that you were doing well. The media overwhelming on your side. And yet, you didn't get what you want. And you kind of didn't get what you wanted in spades. Because I think, it was one thing to be like, oh, the executive branch, okay. But to lose all three, how's democracy working for you now? And so that's what the deal is. You got to start really understanding this is about, at some level, power. But beyond that, at some point, you have to keep the peace. And the peace is all these stupid regulations and all these little rules about this and about that. And, it's minutia and it's not fun. And, percentages and mathematics. And, but that's what it is. It's all in the details. It's all in the details. And so now you actually have to really kind of deal with that, openly, really real deal Holyfield kind of deal with, okay, so what do you really have now? You have a party that most of you don't feel really represents any kind of sort of younger, we're trying to work, make some money, and get somewhere, and have something, you don't, maybe not even sure what you want to do. That's fine. You have to, really, in a world where you could do almost anything, it's actually difficult to decide what to do. But do you feel like they represent you? And I really want to go back to that example. For the people who are Palestine. Are you hearing anything about somebody who is saying, here is a actual social policy key to the governance and future of, Palestine in Palestine or whatever, water rights. We what we want to do is have this well, this tap, everybody knew that there was historically a wide variety of kind of old tunnel systems and stuff in that part of the world. I mean, that's really, like, not kidding, like, totally for real. I mean, when you go to Israel, you'll find, like, they'll have you visit tourist places, and there's a lot of, like, olive oil stored in underground kind of tunnels and things like that. It's actually really interesting to see the way that they're built, because when you see how they're built meticulously, so that if any pots broke, the oil would not pool any place, so that the oil would flow into something to drain. It was actually pretty brilliant, and like stuff like that. Like that. I mean, you know, when you have thousands of years to learn, you know, how not to have a disaster, it probably came up at some point. But this idea that, like, there's some completely legitimate kind of policy ideas that we would think of as, like, that's a social policy idea, economic policy. Who's your leadership in this? Who is actually saying this is how we're going to actually run our own schools there? This is how we will have water. This is how we will, you know, who's there saying we need to plant trees as vigorously as, say, the Israelis did on their territory to hold water, so that you could then tap, you could tap the groundwater bit. But if you don't, if it's an arid area, it's harder for the water to stay in the water table, and it's harder to then have wells. And it's this thing of, like, you know, who is trying to posit completely rational ideas, but then bring it back to America. Who is saying stuff that you realize at, like, 24, by the time you're 28, this is going to pan out in a way that you're really going to have, like, a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things. Like, you're going to have all these great opportunities to succeed and this and that, because of the way that, you know, like, we're investing in here's one, micro reactors has come up. Really small nuclear reactors. Apparently Canada is one of the key countries that really is all about this. So, I mean, is anybody discussing this? Who do you think right now is the party that, if there's micro reactors, who's going to talk about this? You know who's going to talk about it. It's going to be Elon Musk. And now you get him for free. So you now have a billionaire pretty much working for free for you. Well, for us. But, I mean, were you going to get that any other way? How's democracy working for you? Is now, just look around your city. If you're in a blue enclave, how's democracy working for you? Is that what democracy is supposed to look like? And really, ladies, how comfortable do you really feel walking around? How wonderful do you really idle about? Like, oh, I just decided to just wander, take a walk around town, just wander. Are you able to do that and feel physically safe doing it? Where I just was going into, like, this guy who I was talking to, he wasn't like, you could tell this isn't some wimpy guy. You know, he's you know, he looks like, you know, he's seen some things, and he's like, I won't leave this house and go to the store without getting in my car, because he can't trust the encampments of hobos that end up on the lawns in our neighborhood. They're like, these guys have, like, bristling weapons coming out their backpacks and shit. Hey, what's it, you know, like, how's that democracy working for you, you suckers? So this is now this kind of thing, like, you know, complain however much you want, But really, maybe one of the things is you would much rather have somebody who will just solve problems. And you don't really understand how to do that. It's complicated. You know, the rich should pay. So like the nobles should pay. So it's not a matter of that the actual proletariat, the actual working people, the wage earners, should be able to, say, grab the thief and do it. So old school San Francisco, you don't put your hands on a woman, we would stomp you out. That's how it worked. That kept a lot of guys from putting their hands on women when they knew that the young guys would defend them. That's not the case now. That is so not the case now. How is democracy working for you now? That literally, there's some of you who are now kind of like these people who, if you were on fire, people would ignore it because they would be afraid of getting involved. How's democracy working for you there? So that's just how it's going to be for a while. Yeah. Peace.